Case 22-000034, the Silvacom petition. This matter was previously heard, but it's been republished in the Daily Herald on September 19, 2022, and we have a request for conditional use for planned development for an industrial distribution center with the following exceptions. Exception number 1, reduce north rear yard setback from 60 feet to approximately 8 feet. Number 2, to reduce the west interior side setback from 60 feet to approximately 20 feet. And exception number 3, to reduce the east interior side setback from 20 feet to approximately 13 feet. And I'll recognize Mr. Lutkehans as the attorney for the petitioner. Would you identify yourself for the record and then identify your witnesses, and then we'll all have all of the witnesses be sworn in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Philip Lutkehans, Lutkehans, on behalf of the petitioner. With me tonight is Sergio Volpe, DOLPE, Michael Worthman, WERTHMANN, and we should be, any moment, should be our engineer, Charles Smunt.
Okay, could you raise your hands and be sworn in, please? Stand up and do the usual.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give this cause now and hearing be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, let me indicate first, I have county has circulated this petition to the various departments of county and neighboring authorities, and I have no objections or comments with the exception of Village of Glendale Heights, who's given us a letter, and Township Highway Department, who's given us a letter, both I think in objection. So can we mark the exhibits?
Yes, what you have in front of you, Exhibit 1, Petitioner's Exhibit 1 and Petitioner's Exhibit 2 are the survey. I only gave you the chairman, but the 2 surveys, 2 actual parcels. Petitioner's Exhibit 3, we should have a large copy we will mark, but that will be the site plan that we provided to the board. Petitioner's Exhibit 4 will be an aerial. That is, we just have a large copy of that we'll show in a minute. Exhibit 5. Five is the rendering of the corner and exhibits petitioners and a large copy of that. Yes. Petitioners Exhibit 6 is a sight line. Shows sight line. That one's correct.
Okay, I understand that we're going to make available the smaller copies of petitioners exhibit number 1 and number 2, the site plan and survey, in the rear of the room for those of you that want to have a look at it. Further, I understand there's been some discussion with the staff about the requested exemptions. Mr. Lutkehans, you want to?
Yes, please. Thank you. We listened obviously to the last meeting, and we had a public meeting slightly, or attended a public meeting the week before that. We are not seeking any variations or exemptions. We are just seeking a conditional use. The setbacks all will be maintained, the ordinance setbacks, and we will be building an industrial distribution center of approximately 71,000 square feet. And the height, there will be no variation there. So it is strictly a conditional use. No variations are being requested.
What's on the site right now? It's vacant?
It's vacant.
Okay. And the situs of the new building or the proposed building that's shown on the site plan reflects a location that requires no exemptions.
Correct.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and proceed? And I will indicate there's a lot of people here. We're going to take the petitioner's presentation. We're going to take questions from the board and we'll go to public comment. There are 2 people who spoke last time who are immediately adjacent neighbors Mr. Sharma and Mr. Becker. They will be permitted to briefly speak again this evening. The comments are limited to 3 minutes each for those who wish to speak. There will also circulate, I guess, a petition after the presentation is made, so you know what you're talking about since it's changed in the last 5 minutes. If you wish to register in support or in opposition, there'll be a sign-up sheet for that. We'll circulate that shortly, also in the back of the room. Okay, Mr. Lukan's, go right ahead.
Yes, the applicant is proposing a conditional use in an I-1 zoning district for approximately 71,000 square foot industrial building.
This your engineer?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. If you're gonna speak, sir, you'll have to be sworn. Are you gonna speak?
Yeah.
Well, let's have him sworn in right now.
You do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about to give at this class and our hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
You state and spell your last name, please.
My name is Charles, last name Swanson, SWANSON.
All right, back to Mr. Lukan's.
I'm 7 feet tall, it's not relevant, but usually people.
Okay, in front of you at this point is petitioner's exhibit 3. That is the site plan. As you can see, the building confined is 60 feet away from the residential properties to the west. It is 60 feet away from the residentially zoned property to the north. And the setback on the east is 20 feet. Those are all in compliance. You will see pavement, what looks like pavement, and it is pavement on the north and on the west. That is fire lane only. That will be restricted to fire lane. So that is not comply. That is not a variation or exemption needed under the ordinance. As I said, there are no longer any proposed variation, setbacks or otherwise. No height variation. And let me make this very, very clear. We would ask for a special condition to this effect. There will not be any hazardous materials brought to this site. And we would suggest a special condition be set forth in that regard so that no one has any question that that is prohibited. The site will be primarily used for storage of vehicles. As you can see, they're all on the east side. I'm sorry, just to orient you.
Oh,
The north is here, or what would be to the right of the drawing, but it's the east, west here, east is Highland Avenue. Okay, the residential that you heard about at the last meeting, and obviously we're all very concerned about, is on Victoria Lane on the west side. The north, there is a residentially zoned property that is kind of decrepit. I'm not even sure if anybody lives there, but it's not a high-end property. To the east is you have the floodplain, or excuse me, to the east you have center ice rink, which is zoned commercial, and to the south you have an office building that is zoned industrial. I guess it's probably an industrial / office use. And on the south of that you have Pa Street, which you'll hear much about, and to the east of the ice rink you have Highland Avenue. Let's talk about what's going to happen here. And we'll have Mr. Volpe talk and testify in a minute about what is going to happen, but it's used primarily for storage of vehicles inside and outside the facility when the trucks are not in use. This is not a thing where trucks come every day. They're only come when they're not in use or need some kind of light maintenance, or when they're bought new and we're modifying the trucks. Put in refrigeration system, mattresses. These are over the road, long haul trucks. They're going 1,500, 2,500 miles. For example, in the last 2 days at their current facility, they had 1 truck. For the entire week, they expect 1 truck. They're not making money sitting here. This is not short haul where someone's coming in, getting their order or whatever. They're not picking up orders here. They are going to the client, picking up the orders there, and then traveling long distance.
So that means
Does that mean no loading and unloading of trucks occur here?
Definitely not outside. There may be some inside, but nothing significant. I'm not gonna say it's never going to happen, but nothing significant.
Okay.
It's not the business. The site will be used as an office as well for the distribution company. We have a 9,000 square foot approximate office. Any truck maintenance will be done inside the building. When I say maintenance, that's probably not the right word. We're talking very light maintenance. These are, and Mr. Volpe can testify to this, all very new vehicles. They hold them for 2-3 years while they're under warranty. And they make the modifications inside that are necessary for over the road, long haul things. There are gonna be no beepers on these. They have and I'll let Mr. Volpe talk more about it. They have a system where there's no exhaust or very little exhaust because they're going to California. We all know California is very, very green. So this is not your normal kind of trucks that are gonna have heavy exhaust. And I think they call it DEF. I'll let DEF type exhaust, but I'll be honest with you, it's a little beyond my purview. As I said, they're expected to create 0 to 8 trips per day at most. The subject property, we'll talk about it more in a minute, and proposed conditional use will meet the standards of the DuPage County zoning ordinance and the standards for a conditional use. I'm gonna let Charles, why don't you talk a little bit about the site? You're gonna need to talk here because they're gonna need to hear you.
I'll just lean over a little bit. So the plan here is, essentially traffic is gonna enter on the southwest corner here. So again, I'll just refer to kind of cardinal plan west directions here, but, so the plan west side, auto traffic will peel off as quickly as possible into the parking lot in front, which is for employees and visitors, things along those lines. Code required fire lane is in the back as Phil walked us through. So due to a, wetland kind of floodplain in this area, that's why we're limited to one entrance over here. That's where we can get an easement onto the property. Maybe you had a question? Oh, okay. So auto traffic pulls off. The idea would be that, any other limited traffic can come through here as well. The back is fire lane access, and then the office space is up here in this corner. As a conceptual rendering of the building, this is what we prepared. So this is our initial proposal. This is not a low-end facility or something along those lines. This is a company that wants a high-end, elegant, modern, attractive looking building. So this is our initial concept rendering here. We're very open to feedback as well. So Silvacom is the brand. We'll do an ACM metal canopy in the front, a lot of glazing. We want it to look like an attractive office space. And then, some drive-in doors and docks are on that planned south side. So this is our proposal for the look and feel of the building. And we've got accessible parking and things along those lines out front, as you'd expect. Something I also wanted to point out, there's a lot of.
yeah, let's have him on this presentation. We'll go like. He did ask, we have a question.
Yeah, all right, sure.
What I said, they're gonna make their presentation, then we're gonna ask questions, and then we go to the audience.
So another thing I wanted to point out that's a little bit unusual about this site is there's a great deal of grade that occurs from the west to the east side, right? So currently, there's pretty significant faults. The east side is a lot lower than the west side up against residences there. In order to utilize the site, we're basically proposing a retaining wall. So this is a schematic diagram, and something that doesn't really register on plans that I wanted to point out to everybody is the building is significantly lower than the adjacent land, especially in the center of the site. So that retaining wall on the edges, it tapers down. You can see it on our plan. See, look there. So there's a retaining wall all along this west side, and that's just based on the grading of the site itself, right? So it tapers down towards the end, but in the middle and for the majority of its length, it's somewhere between 10 and 13 feet tall. So the building sits in a depression. And then that retaining wall echoes on the other side, on the east side of the site. But where I was going with this, and we had a number of conversations during development about, what's going to happen here in terms of the setback. So there's that 60-foot setback, as we said, on the west side, adjacent to the residences in accordance with the applicable zoning. But then there's also this fall that occurs. So if you were standing, adjacent or something like that, we're proposing an 8-foot tall screening fence as well as some extensive landscaping in this area within that, the buffer area that we have. But the site, like I said, the building sits in depression. Now, the other side adjacent to the commercial use over here is kind of similar. It steps down again. That's what that other retaining wall is. But I know there's a lot of concern from adjacent uses. So in addition to the 60-foot setback that we have here, I think the grade will help mitigate, the look and feel of the building from adjacent neighbors. Sure.
Sergio, Mr. Volpe will talk a little bit about the operation.
Hello, everybody. Sergio, Silvacom is an asset-based over-the-road carrier. Again, as Mr. Lucas mentioned, there will be no commodities stored and or distributed out of here. This is for the sole purpose of drivers coming from over the road back to this facility to go ahead and either leave their equipment at the warehouse or facility and then go ahead and go home for 3 weeks and then come back for a week, or they take the equipment home with them. This facility is going to have an office, warehouse, the light repair maintenance facility, and parking all combined into one right now. We don't do any distribution or storage of chemicals or over-the-road carriers, like Mr. Lucan said. Anything from 1,000 to 1,500 to 2,000 miles cross country from point to point. Typically, drivers stay on the road for 3 weeks and then they'll come back for a week. A lot of the time, 75% of the time, the drivers, their company drivers, they take the equipment home with them. So from whatever state they're from, they usually take that truck home with them. The reason why we do account for the parking that we're asking for is just in case we do have drivers that come home and they need to leave the equipment at our facility. There will be no day-to-day shipments or trucks coming in and out from the facility. It's going to be solely for the purpose of new drivers, orientation, and again, the light repair maintenance facility. Is there anything else that I can answer?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm confused because you're alternating between there's no day-to-day trip generation, but there may be 0 to 8 trips per day.
We don't warehouse anything. There's no commodities that are going to be dropped off and or picked up at this location. So we do have anywhere from 0 to, we accounted for 8 on any given day to come in, but that is a large stretch. Right now, we had, like I mentioned, Mr. Lucan mentioned, there was 1 truck that came in this whole entire week. So we'd like to account for more just in case to,
Okay.
everyone, but
So just
Yes.
in basic terms, a driver comes in, drops his truck off,
mhm.
takes his automobile and goes home.
Not so much an automobile, he'd most likely be taking a plane ticket back to wherever he comes from.
Well, he's got to get away from the site and something other than
Uber,
there.
yes, and we Uber a lot of the drivers. So for instance, a driver might come from Tennessee. He fills out the proper paperwork. He takes a drug test, checks everything. We send him a ticket. He flies in, we get him an Uber from the airport to our facility. From there, he has an overnight roughly 3-stay orientation with our office, where he'll go through logbooks. He'll meet dispatch, he'll meet accounting, the service team and the dispatchers. Then from there, he'll do a test of driving, and then he'll go out to back on the interstate, pick up a load from point A and go to point B, wherever that may be, and stay on the road for roughly 3 weeks.
And how long, I'm sorry, how long is a typical truck parked at the facility?
About a week,
And how does a driver come to pick up a truck?
usually by plane.
Same, so the.
Unless it's a driver that's from the area that could make it here by car, but by no means are there any vehicles stored by the drivers on site.
How many trucks are there in total?
Right now, there's roughly around 120 trucks spread out the United States.
And how many trucks would be at the facility at any one time maximum?
If the trucks aren't on the road, we're not making money, so we'd like to say that hopefully there's none, but on any given point, there could be anywhere from 5 to 15.
If we introduced a condition of no more than 15 truck parking, would that be appropriate, or do you want a cushion of 20 or?
I think we have accounted for 16 to 18 right now, just on the east end.
Okay, I was gonna ask you about truck parking.
Yeah, that's about 6. I
So
believe
you got 18?
Yeah, I think it's
So
18.
a condition of no more than 18 overnight trucks?
Yeah,
What about other parking?
car parking employees.
Like, how many? And
It allows for, I believe, 66.
That's, but if I may, that's required under your zoning ordinance due to the size. You don't have 66 employees.
No,
all right, how many employees do you have?
roughly around 20.
20 employees?
Just
And they are all of the office employees that we're talking about?
everything, the office, shop, dispatch, yes, clerical.
Oh, let's explore the light maintenance issue a little bit more.
Sure.
What do you mean by, obviously, well, I don't know what you're doing, so why don't you tell me?
I could dig in. So they're all new trucks, 21, 23, or 21, 20, excuse me, 22, 23. Anything older than that, we usually swap out for maintenance, so that we're not having old equipment and it starts to break down. We're not rebuilding engines. If a truck were to make, a pickup in Chicago and drop off somewhere in the United States, if it were to break down somewhere along the way, it's under warranty. It's not going to get shipped back to our facility so that we could work on it. That's going to get fixed over the road by a dealership that we purchased it from. That's not anywhere to be repairs made on site. Light maintenance, it could be installing inverters. It could be a tire if it were to be on site. Again, if it's over the road, it's being conducted over the road, the maintenance and the repair. No body work, could be a mirror, it could be a bumper, that's stock that needs to be replaced, anything to that magnitude, nothing more.
Okay, all of that occurs inside,
Yes,
okay? What are the hours of operation?
I was just about to go there, if you don't mind.
Oh, go ahead.
The hours of operation are 8 to 5. We would ask and would agree to restrict the hours from like 7 to 6. We're not looking for early morning startups. We're not looking for late. This is a normal, well, at least for trucks. I mean, who knows how late an office person may be there, but the trucks, we're not bringing them in at midnight, or leaving them at 5 in the morning when they're starting up, when people are trying to wake up.
And 5 days a week or 7 days a week?
it's 5 days a week, sorry, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
12 months a year?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just a quick question, is it 8 to 5 or 7 to 6? You just both said something different.
Well,
He said their regular hours are 8 to 5. But they
It
want-
is 8 to 5.
All right, you, sir, you get one more shot and then you're gonna be escorted out of the room. I told you guys, wait for your comments.
Realistically, the hours right now are 8 to 5. I'm suggesting 7 to 6.
As a
just-
condition,
Yes.
right? All right, and your site plan, I don't know, does it show a dumpster someplace? Is there a dumpster or what's the story on garbage disposal?
We don't currently have a trash enclosure separate on site. The anticipation is that is accounted for and controlled for the building. So
Behind the building,
within the building.
within the building?
Yeah.
Well, how do you, what is your garbage disposal system? Who picks up your trash?
So there's a couple of different options, and it's still early in the design, so we haven't hammered all this out, but typically, what you can do is, so, we've got a dock position as well as some drive-in doors. And so a trash pickup truck can come pick up directly from within the building and pull it out. If operationally we do need a trash enclosure or something along those lines, we would design it in accordance with the relevant zoning.
All right. I can't think of any other question. Are you finished? Are you ready for questions from our board?
I still have traffic engineer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
And then I can either go through standards now or later, but.
you don't have to go through the standards. We'll figure that out.
Okay. And I might have a couple more follow-ups because I was trying to do quick.
Go right ahead. Is this traffic?
Yes, good evening, Michael Worthman, I'm only 5'10", so I can talk into this. I'm a principal with Kenneck, Lindgren, O'Hara, Huna Inc., KLOA. We were retained, or I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Illinois. We were retained to perform the traffic study for the proposed facility. We did our typical three-phase study where we look at existing conditions, determine the volume of traffic that will be generated, and then look what the impact is on the roadway system. We looked mainly at the Main Street corridor and the Pott Street corridor as part of the study. As we typically do, we looked at the weekday morning and evening commuter peak hours where the traffic is the highest on the roadway system. Just quickly, Main Street is a major arterial or minor arterial roadway, excuse me. It's got 2 lanes in each direction, 40-mile-per-hour speed limit. It's got a daily traffic volume of about 10,400 vehicles according to IDOT. A 4-lane road like this typically can carry upwards of 20,000 vehicles. So the roadway is really only operating at about 55% of its capacity. There's a lot of capacity left in the roadway. Pott Street is a east-west local industrial road. It's a dead-end road, probably extends for a quarter of a mile, third of a mile, 1 lane in each direction, under stop and control at its intersection with Main Street. The primary generator of traffic on Pott Street is the bus barn that's located at the west end of Pott. It does generate a number of bus trips in the morning and back in the afternoon. I'm sure everyone's seen that. As you've heard, the facility will have approximately 20 employees working from 8 to 5. As you've heard too, the facility generates a limited volume of truck traffic. It can be anything from 0 in 1 day upwards to 5, 6, 7, 8 round trips per day. So it's a very limited volume of traffic. This facility almost operates more like an office than it does what's under your zoning and distribution facility. The main generator of traffic is going to be those office employees coming in the morning and leaving in the afternoon, or the Ubers that are picking up and dropping off the drivers at that day. So as such, we're generating a very limited volume of traffic given size of the site and its existing industrial zoning. There's a number of uses under your existing industrial zoning that could go in there that would generate more traffic, manufacturing, light industrial, warehousing, that would generate more traffic and more truck traffic than what is proposed at the facility. And they wouldn't have to come, they could build by right to be in there. As part of the development, we will provide some improvements at the intersection of Pott and Main Street. The northwest corner of the intersection, we're proposing to increase that radius. So those trucks that are turning in can make that turn more efficiently and in a more orderly manner. And then we will also work with the highway commissioner on the structural design of Pott Street to make sure that it's sufficient to accommodate our traffic. Sergio has indicated that he'll work with the township commissioner to make sure we address any issues or concerns that he has. Overall, the roadway system has sufficient reserve capacity to accommodate the traffic. The intersection of Pott Street and Main Street operates fairly well at this time. There is some queuing, but it's limited queuing. And typically only lasts for a minute or two. I think the max queue I saw out there was 3 or 4 vehicles, 5 vehicles making a left turn. But it dissipated pretty quickly. I'll be here for any questions that you have, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Is there an exhibit, a written traffic study report that's an exhibit or not?
We have one, but it's not an exhibit. Right?
Yeah, given the new numbers, it would have been slightly wrong. It would have been underestimating, so we had Mr. Worth just testify to it.
Okay,
See it.
are you gonna offer one at a later date or not?
Wasn't planning on it. If someone had questions, he's willing to.
Well, I mean, testimony is the
Exactly.
Anything else?
I do want to kind of just a couple quick things showing you positions exhibit number 4, which is the site, which is kind of an aerial of the area. Our site is right here. I don't see it very well, but you will see that there is this subdivision to the west and northwest. The rest of the area, this road becomes industrial immediately after that subdivision. You have, I think it's the Norfolk Township Highway Commissioner office. You have the bus barn, and then to the north, heavy commercial, heavy retail. You have a Ram dealership, Dodge Ram. At the corner of Haas and Main Street, you have a storage facility. And to the south of this office industrial building, you have Haas Street, and you have the railroad and the Great Western, or you have the Great Western Trail, which I think is what it is. Sorry. So there is some more buffer, even more to the south. As you heard from Mr. Swanson, you saw the sightline study. And the number of uses on industrial would be much more intrusive, possible uses in industrial, dry cleaners, warehouse distribution, than what we're talking about here as far as traffic. And they could all just be as high and as large as the building we're talking. And what we've really tried to do is keep that traffic away from the residential areas by having the truck traffic would come in just on the south, go directly to the east, and the car traffic would stay on that south side too. So they would not be backing up to any residential uses.
Right, ordinarily, I don't get into a lot of discussion about building design and renderings. You know, it's nice for the neighbors to know what it's gonna look like. But it's not really a zoning issue. However, it appears that you position the building on the property to put all of the activity on the site as far away as possible from the residential area. However, there's a lot of testimony about what occurs inside the building. So how is the back of the building soundproofed, if at all? Are there windows? Or, what's the construction?
We anticipate that this will be a precast building, so the back side of the building would be 8 to 10 inch thick concrete precast panels. So from a soundproofing perspective, there would be, they're sealed. There's really no sound that should make it from inside the building, to the rear. The only openings in that facade would be, required fire egress doors. So that's a 3 foot by 6'8" man door. Those are so we'd have some of those, and then we might put in small clerestory windows. So a clerestory window is a 3 foot by 3 foot tall by 6 foot fixed window on the backside. It doesn't open or anything like that to let in sound or air or anything along those lines. So
Okay,
from that perspective, minimal openings on the rear side.
questions from the board now?
Give me 1 second, just to make sure I covered everything. Yeah, Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Murphy, do you want to start? Do you have any questions?
One, there was nothing said about lighting. And another question I have with the trucks coming in and making the first turn. At least looking at the photo, how do they get? There's not enough space to turn the truck. Because it looks like it's only 30 feet wide.
You are correct. We will be working with the township commissioner. We'll put a larger radius on that and probably widen the drive a little bit so the truck traffic can get in. You're correct on that. Okay, so we'll work through that in the final engineering.
Do you store any of the trucks inside?
It's not mine.
They'll be stored to be worked on, et cetera, but they won't be, I don't think there's any goal to store trucks. That's what you're asking.
That's all I had.
The only other question I had, even jam, was because of the residential area, lighting for the parking lot.
So typically with lighting design, we would provide so we haven't created a photometric yet, but the typical standard would be full cutoff fixtures. So you're not going to be looking at a light or something along those lines. In addition to that, the typical requirement is, less than 1 foot candle at the property line. So there will be limited ambient light and full cutoff fixtures to reduce light pollution onto adjacent properties. Yeah, great question. And then the other thing to reinforce is that we're in, the depression, right? So just in terms of the topography of the site. So it's not a situation where you'd be as that's on the downside of the hill, that'll also help with the sound and with the light concern.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Thank you. Anything, Mr. Ketter? Mr. Schultz?
Just simply Glendale Heights went to a fairly long effort to give us a 2-page letter, and I just wanted to know if you had any direct comments regarding their letter.
Sorry, give me a second to pull it. It's been a little while since I looked at it. One of the things they had was a lack of information relative to proposed land use and business. I think we've resolved that. Being consistent with the DuPage County Comprehensive Plan, a multifamily. I don't see that as a multifamily area surrounded by industrial. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and you're adding a lot more traffic to a road that is not really built for a lot of traffic. It's built more for heavy traffic than it is a lot. Also, remember that this subdivision, Victoria Lane, etc., they don't come out to pass. They come out a different way. So this is not a residential street that you're going to see a lot of residential uses on. And as we know, it is zoned industrial. That's the zoning. That's what we're complying with. Inconsistent with conditional use standards. I think that we've talked about it. I can go through them again, but we are consistent with the conditional use standards. Lack of setbacks and buffering. We've solved that problem. Lack of information regarding stormwater management, lighting, noise, and performance standards. We obviously have to comply with the stormwater. We have a plan for that. Spaceco has come up with a plan that complies with it. Lighting you've heard about, noise you've heard about, performance standards, obviously we have to meet. Those are all things that are in the ordinance that we have to meet and will meet. Traffic, you heard Mr. Worthman talk about traffic, and I think we've all heard, or we're all aware that there has been a large concern of traffic here and that this was going to be a lot more busy facility than it actually is. And there's actually going to be very little compared to traffic to most industrial uses. That answer your question?
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, do you have questions?
No questions, thank you.
All right. Are we ready to go to public comment? Mr. Becker, I told you that I would recognize you again if you had any issues. Well, first of all, let me do this. Jessica, has that sign-in sheet or petition or whatever it has been circulated?
To the right.
All right, remember, there's a sheet in the back that you can indicate your name, address, approval or objection to this petition. Now, all those that want to make a statement or ask a question about this petition, please raise your hand. And if you would stand up so you can all be sworn in at the same time. And then, can I ask you to queue up so that I can sort of keep track of you, kind of line up over here? And then as you do, we'll ask the court reporter to administer the oath.
You want to go over there now?
Yeah, if you would. I mean, if anybody like me, has trouble standing for half an hour or whatever it is, sit down and then get in line later. But raise your hands and be sworn in.
Hey, would you raise your right hands, please? You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give at this cause now and hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, when you begin your comments, spell your name, give us your address. Tell us where that is in location in relation to this property. In other words, if you're 20 miles away and you just have an academic interest and support or oppose, and that's different than if you live next door. And then tell us whether you support or object. That's very important, so we know what to listen for, and then you'll be given a couple minutes to make your remarks. Mr. Becker, I presume you have something new to offer?
Yes. Chris Becker, CHRIS, BECKZR, 1017 Victoria Lane. On the exhibit, or the,
Is this the same exhibit as you gave us last time?
it's slightly different.
Are you withdrawing the old one?
Can't I have two exhibits?
Well, I don't know if they're different. You probably shouldn't.
They are different. So if you look at this exhibit, when we get into it, you'll see that on the fifth house from the bottom, or on that drawing, how we then look at it. 5 houses in right here. That's what I'm looking at.
All right, go right ahead.
All right, first of all, I want to officially petition, you have made recommendations that we had to have it notarized. We did have that notarized. Obviously, there's a lot of new information that it would have been very helpful if this would have been posted to the community before 5 minutes before we show up, right? So I know everybody's busy, but this is very difficult to make decisions this quickly. Second of all, you started talking about lighting and all this stuff, and this is going to be in a hole and it's down below. It's not. Okay, so the retaining wall, I thought, and tell me the numbers, was 13 feet down about the first retaining wall. That building is 29 feet. So do the math, that building is way taller than our house. So your lighting and everything you talked about, it's going to be down here, it's above our house. When that lighting goes off in the middle of the night, it's shining in our house. So please, if you're going to represent something, represent it accurately. That's not in a hole. Second of all, one truck a day. Look, I'm trying to be respectful, sir, all the whole time, right? You and I try to work this through. It does. I understand that you're making, progress on your side, but the reality is one truck a day, and if it's an office building, you go rent office space. We can get into a debate later on. You and I will have a beer, but the reality is one truck a day. No one would spend 5, 10. It's going to be $5 million just to do the construction because the complexity. 8 million. You tell me what the number is. No one would spend $8 million a day for one truck a day. There are things that are common sense that just, it doesn't add up. So I'm going to go really quickly. So the next page is also part of exhibit 1.
So you've got a minute and a half left.
Okay, so it was part of exhibit 1. And there are some changes, but the key I want to show in this drawing right here. This is still the same problem. This is the same exact problem. You're going to tear down all the trees. Where's the landscaping thing we talked about? You're going to rip down everything from our property line, and you're going to have no landscaping. We're going to see right through it. And so then I'll go to the last page. You had recommended about the court case. I was advised probably not to do it because I'm not going to talk about the court case But on this document, it talks about the standards for the zoning requirement. This will dramatically diminish our property value. We can get all sorts of people to prove that. When you go back here, look at what we have today. Look, I'll tell you what, we'll do an assessment. We have somebody audit our property right now. And then do it after, if this goes through, or at least, have a review of it. I guarantee you, we're gonna lose $50,000 to $75,000 in property value in our house. There's no way you can say that. Just like you're telling me it's in the hole, that's not true. We're gonna lose property value, point blank. Absolutely. We had people coming up here and talking about health issues and diesel trucks. It ain't one truck a day, and there's gonna be a serious problem for health issues and everybody else. Respectfully, I'll stop because
Okay.
you had said I had 1 minute. I'll do two things. Well, one thing though, on the last page, I respectfully request that you deny the petition. And next time, have all the answers that we said you were gonna have. And also, everything that you took, sir, I would hope would be in a contract that if they do not adhere to it, that they should be fined. There should be an acceptance to it, and if they break any of those.
There is a mechanism for that. Conditional use includes conditions if it's passed. And then there's an enforcement mechanism.
And I hope it's fine. I hope there's serious fines.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, Mr. Sharma. Is this the Sharma exhibit number 1?
Number 2, I gave my exhibit, I can.
Okay, thanks.
This is a different. Anybody else needs a copy?
Mr. Sharma,
I'm sorry. There you go.
could you go to the microphone and make your statement, please?
Last name Sharma, at 1025 Victoria Lane. I object to the petition. Here's the reason. They said they're not storing anything. They did apply for an EP application, so you may want to check into that. Here's the agenda, slide number 2. It endangers public health and safety. We got to also talk about the legal best use of the land and trend development. It decreases property values. We need more traffic studies because there's congestion and a dangerous intersection. Recommendation that third-party studies as referenced. On slide number 3, this is a large trucking facility, extremely dangerous next to homes and children. The residents do not have an air quality study from the petitioner on the impact of air and noise pollution. There are a lot of small children, there's Greenbrier Park. We never talk about the Great Western Trail, the ice rink, and the churches with high pedestrian traffic. Studies have shown that dangers to the public health affect pregnancy outcomes, childhood cancer, cardiovascular and respiratory illness, end-stage renal disease, sleep deprivation, diabetes. I recommend that we look at public health as a major priority because people will die from cancer. Slide number 4, best use of land. The trend of development for the last 22 years in this area has been residential. Hartzell, Greenbrier Homes and townhouses in 2000, Winsong subdivision 2002, extra space storage for residents, 3 churches. The trend of development has been residential, and even the vacant landowner, this person, went to the village of Glen Ellen 4 years ago and said, please annex me and rezone me from industrial to residential for home development. DuPage County needs to rezone the vacant land from light industrial to residential as the best and highest use of the land. Slide number 5. I was a real estate broker for many years, and I can tell you, this current zoning is light industrial, is best suited for I2, general industrial district. The vacant land is located in high-risk FEMA flood zone, and I would notice that the petitioner has not given any studies what the risk will be to the flooding and sinkholes in the neighborhood. So the property values, if you look at slide number 6, this is from Zillow and Realtor.com, shows that higher sold values for homes next to a wooded lot versus homes to trucking facilities. We compared Winsong residential area, the price is $329. Next to trucks, the price drops to $268, loss of $61,000 to the homeowners. Objection number 7, traffic congestion. You said you did a traffic study, but we need more of a traffic study. The traffic study, sir, needs to show the impact to the school bus for District 87. It needs to show the impact to the trucks from Silicon, not only within Illinois, but also interstate trucks from other US locations. And the impact, the future impact, what will happen when District 47 opens new proposed spalding street?
Wrap it up, please.
Sure will. My recommendation is to deny the request. We have a signed petition. The petitioner has not offered independent studies to the public on traffic congestion, public safety, flooding, noise and air pollution, public expense, public health to warrant approval at this stage. Thank you.
You have exhibits too?
I have, yes.
What's your last name?
My first name is Lenore, last name Henning, H-E-N-N-I-N-G.
So we'll take that as Henning exhibit, one.
One.
Henning exhibit number one, are you an objector?
Yes, sir.
An objection.
Yes. My name is Lenore Henning. I've lived there for 42 years. And I'm showing you the footprint of this building in our neighborhood.
Excuse me, can you use the microphone?
Oh, sure. This area has been tried to be developed 4 years ago. Prior to that, it's not. So this is virgin land. However, this parcel, 5-6 acres, I think is a blighted area. It hasn't been developed. It has many variance requirements with the flood, the elevation, everything. So my recommendation, because the village of Glendale Heights used a TIF area all along North Avenue. And with the TIF money that was generated, they built the yellow second place. That's Glendale Heights. So my address is 22 West 549, second place, unincorporated Glen Ellen, Milton Township, DuPage County. You have listed this property as 1 North 540 Highland with the phone number of Center Ice. So this leads me to wonder, like, what's going on here? Why are you putting the address of this parcel development as Center Ice? Why are you listing it as with a phone number to Center Ice of DuPage? Don't know. Anyway, if you could, I don't know who has the jurisdiction over this parcel. Is it the county or is it Glen Ellen or Milton Township or Glendale Heights? I'm assuming it's Glen Ellen. As it relates to who could decide what goes there. I see you are, the county is.
Look, we don't have the jurisdiction, if something's gone awfully wrong.
Okay.
I leave it.
Okay, yeah, well, that's what I'm just wondering, because there's 3 different entities
Incorporated in the county.
in, okay. With a Glen, it'll have a Glen Ellen address then, is that correct? Okay, yeah. Anyway, so if we go back to the dilapidated area here, as well as what you have listed as the address for this property, 1 North 520 Highland, I believe that Center Ice is a dilapidated area. The building itself is 50 years old. It has terrible parking. They abuse the parking, park where no parking is there. So somehow these two parcels and these two guys are getting together behind this. So when you consider that this is a blighted area, this area here isn't wide enough to provide an egress. You can put an ingress here, but there is no egress there. So with all these blighted factors, yes, sure. I think that you could take the money generated by a TIF district and re-improve PAS, put a light up on Main Street in PAS, and leave it as an open area, which the county needs, and address the floodplain. In 2016, FEMA came with a flood plan and moved all that out. Okay, all right, but thank you.
Sure. Peter Pacione, Pacione. I'm here as on behalf of the Village of Glendale Heights. I'm one of their village attorneys here on behalf of the village itself, which this is within our 1.5 mile jurisdiction for planning, and on behalf of the people of the Village of Glendale Heights. Just for the record, I did speak briefly regarding the notice test.
Oh, that's right. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm gonna change my presentation just a little bit because first, I'd like to object to the fact, and this is just for due process purposes to create the record, that we were not allowed to cross-examine each witness as they testified. And I will also object to the fact that we're being limited to 3 minutes to make a presentation and cross-examine the witnesses. So that is for the record, because the village will be proceeding in this matter as far as we need to take it. But first, before I start, there was a map of the site plan. The site plan indicates that there's a 30-foot fire lane across the building, which under a PUD, you can have a fire lane within the setback requirements. But I suggest, because there was no explanation of how the circulation on the site is going to take place, that there be a gate at the beginning of that fire lane so that no trucks circulate through that property. Because they're not allowed to circulate or park within a setback. And it seems as though, it hasn't been explained, but it seems as though trucks would circulate that site using that procedure because it's the only way to reasonably navigate that site with trucks. There's been no indication of how big the trucks are gonna be. So there's no way to determine if they're gonna be able to make that turn or go straight. And then I will go back to the notice. Based upon my objections to the notice last time, there was a republication. With the republication, this is a new hearing. It's not a continuation of a hearing. This is a new and separate hearing. The notice has changed over time. If you look at the iterations of the notice, this time the legal description is different. The petitioner is listed as Grain Sherman LLC. I'm not sure if that's the petitioner or if it's the company, trucking company, that is going to be occupying this facility that is the petitioner. There's also a parcel of land that was added. Again, the legal description was changed because before it didn't show how you would enter the property because it was cut off by property owned by Poss Factory LLC. They're not listed in the notice as an owner. They're not listed as their address in the notice. And I find that to be a defect in the legal notice that was provided to the village and to every other surrounding community. And the residents.
Sure. A couple of things.
Sure.
First of all, if I sort of double, because you're representing the municipality, I'd be inclined to give you a little additional time as opposed to a 3-minute limit. But you think you can wrap it up in another 3 minutes?
There were 3 or 4 different witnesses. I'll take whatever you give me, but I just needed to make my objection for the record.
Yeah, well, you don't need to make your objection for the record. That's.
That is in fact my second point. You're raising a lot of technical issues that we can't really deal with. I don't believe it's legally necessary for you to point out deficiencies or inconsistencies in addresses or whatever in order to bring your case in court if that's your intention.
I
So
would disagree because I think the petitioner should be aware of if they choose to proceed, that there are technical violations of what needs to be done and those. would
but
be
if
brought-
there are technical violations, you don't have to make a record of them here.
Okay, but you would like the petitioner to be well aware of it.
Okay, well, it's kind of eating into your time. And I'm-
If you give me more time, I will appreciate it.
Okay, go right ahead. I'll give you another-
Under
I'm
section
gonna start my
37,
clock again.
under 37-14-15A. This petition or the hearing is supposed to be started within 60 days of the application being made. If we use today's date, we're at the 63rd day. So we're beyond the time where this hearing should have started. It needs to start within 60 days and conclude within 120 days. We're past that, and that is a violation. And I will skip ahead only for one more thing, and then just so you know, they're under the section 34-14-17.1A, there shall be a pre-application conference regarding a PUD with the Department of Economic Development and Planning. I don't think that's occurred. That is supposed to occur for 3 different reasons: to determine if the development is in compliance with zoning, to determine if any amendments are needed, and to determine if the PUD is in conformity with the county land use plan and regulations. Lastly, because I will be cut off shortly, I would just indicate the use of this facility has been described in the legal notice as a distribution center. Testimony provided is they're not receiving product, they're not shipping product. Well, then what is the use of the property? A truck facility to make repairs, a dispatch center, and an office. None of those are permitted uses. We've heard that there's going to be storage of trucks on the site, whether for a week, whether for a day, some inside, but there's going to be outside vehicles. Under the I-1 industrial district, storage of vehicles is a conditional use. They have not applied for that use. Therefore, they would be in violation of the zoning ordinance to allow those trucks to be there. And the use itself is not a permitted use. They would be in violation of the I-1 industrial district under the county zoning. Another fact under 37.1414.3A1, a PUD shall initially be a zoning lot under a single ownership or control. If the petitioner is in fact Grain Sherman LLC, they do not have unified control or ownership of the site that is proposed to be part of the PUD. And they are listed as the petitioner. Both regulations are over. There's also a landscaping requirement that is need to be done. You would think that it would be part of here because the PUD ordinance says that it shall be presented. I don't see a landscaping. I hear that there's going to be landscaping, but I don't know if it's meeting the requirements of the code because it's not being presented. And it is part of the PUD process to gain PUD approval. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, sir. What's your position with the village?
I am the village attorney.
Okay. Next. Are you next, sir?
My name is Mohammed Chaudhary. I live in,
Start over again, please.
okay, my name is Mohammed Chaudhary. I live in Coventry Circle, a townhome.
Can
We
you
are
spell your last name, please?
Chaudhary, Choudhary.
And your address
So-
again?
It's 1144 Coventry Circle. So we have 89 units, very densely populated. And majority of our neighborhood is kids and families, 3 to 5, 6 kids every household. And I'm very much concerned about the health and safety of my children and all the people living there. I also represent, I'm not here representing, but I also represent the board of directors as well in there. And some of the things I have found very inconsistent, that the parking has the requirement for lighting, and we had our experience with DuPage Chrysler. They had exactly the same promises that there will be no light, and that has made our life miserable. There are a lot of increase in mosquitoes and nighttime beetles in that area. And this was dark area. Now it is going to add on to it. So they're suggesting that there will be very low traffic. And about if we are satisfied, for example, for the fire requirements, going like in case there have to be fire, the trucks has to come from the past, have to go around the building, find the place where the fire is to distinguish it. I think this is a bad plan. There has to be direct access to get to the fire from different area. So the third thing which was mentioned that there is a gated road and we are not using it. Yes, we use it. We use it. Last time we had the road which was reconstructed on the second place and the Western Avenue. We had to use that, and that is our road, and we are authorized to use that. It's up to us whenever we want the city to open it, we will be using that road. And this facility is going to cause us a lot of trouble. one other thing. Last week we witnessed, I'm not sure if the same owners are building this or it will be sold and then like the new owners are going to build, but multiple of the householders witnessed a truck was being painted in that lot. And it was spray painted. I want to make sure that it never happened again with the same owner, as well as they don't do any illegal activities which are not, they are not allowed in that facility. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hey, nice job. Next.
My name is Mazhar Iqbal. First name Mazhar, M-A-Z-H-E-R. Last name is Iqbal, I-Q-B-A-L. I live in 1069 Victoria Lane. Very first house in the lane where the property is being constructed. So I
Object.
heard,
You object, sir?
sorry,
You object?
yes, I object
Okay.
strongly. So I was hearing and I was totally shocked and surprised. I have about 25-30 years job experience in corporate world. I never heard that kind of loose and a very general statements in a petition like that. Every person who was pro and spoke here, there's nothing that is quantifiable, measurable, and there's a compliance and consequences associated to that. For example, loading and unloading question was raised, and initially there was no loading, then there was some loading, unloading. Similarly, the quantifying the trucks, it should be one truck, and then it went up to 16. So, when the traffic person came, there was a question was that if there was any annexation or any document attached, the answer was that, oh, I forgot that. So, in order to make that big decision that the whole subdivision is crying and their health and other safety issues are concerned there should be some seriousness and a written and well thought documented fact should be attached with the petition so that can be viewed and there should be some consequences associated with that. My other objection is that a lot of our community and even my children take bike and go to Glenbrook West through that road and use that area, whether it's a Great Western Trail or whether it's a Highland Avenue, we use that space all the time. So, and this facility raised whether drivers are coming or they're staying for a week, that really concern me and concern our community. It's not it's a very family oriented residential area, and sitting next 60 feet next to that kind of building is really concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Karen Hermes. Last name is Hermis, and I live at 1112 Coventry Circle. So I'm questioning the traffic study that was done because it was just verbal. We don't have anything to look at.
Are you
I'm opposing.
testifying? Okay.
Yeah, I'm opposing. So I just want to know, did you take into consideration when you did your traffic study that on November 8th, we're voting in a referendum for a new school in District 41, K through 5. So that means more buses. It's 1,500 feet away from your proposed location where you guys want to build. So did you estimate the additional buses, the additional car movement with that new school coming? That's 1,500 feet away. And then also too, are you proposing, you said, yeah, well, we'll make the road bigger. How big are you proposing to make it? These are we were told these are flat bed trucks. Those are pretty big. So how are they going to make that turn? You need a huge space. And there's no light there, which if they're going to do this, we need a light. I mean, there's so much, I don't know exactly the time frame that you did this study, because I drive on that street every day to go to school. Okay, there's so much traffic. There's 3 bus stops on that same road near your area. So did you see that when you were doing your traffic study? And last week, there was a bus accident with a car on that same road. So have you looked up the history of accidents during that time frame? Because that's our busiest time, is in the morning and then after school. I mean, and to come here, you're proposing that, you know, you want this land, and to come here and just say, well, I don't have the plan. You know, and then we're told, oh yeah, lighting, oh yeah, lighting, yeah, we'll get you that. Yeah, we're gonna have lights. Well, we should know these things. We live there. We have our subdivision. Have you looked at our subdivision? Do you know how many children live in that subdivision? And how many children are on their bikes every day? And they go on the Great Western Trail? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And then at the first initial meeting, we were told that we're gonna have trucks, the trucks will drop off goods, but they're not being stored. Then where are the goods going? Where do they go? Did they vanish into thin air? I mean, come on, let's be real. Like, what is this facility gonna hold? You know, we were told batteries, we were told sanitizer, we were told this, today we're told nothing's going in and nothing's coming out. It's just trucks dropping off. A truck comes from point A to point B with goods in their truck, right? They drop off the load, it has to be stored until another truck comes and picks it up. That's common sense. So I am opposing this. And I hope that you, as our county representatives, will take all this into consideration. Because if you pass it, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous without all the information.
Thank you very much. Next. So we'll pass them out. Just go up there and. What's your name, sir?
Charles Ridley. Last name spelled R-E-I-B-L-Y.
R-I-V-E-L-Y.
R-E-I.
R-E-I.
B-L-Y.
Okay, this is Rivesley exhibit number 1.
Yes, thank you. So I wanted to start out asking a question, actually, because everything changed from the last time I was here. So behind my property, which is right here, there's a 60-foot setback, is that correct?
It's whatever the required setback is.
Right, so in that setback, is anything constructed in that setback, or is it just?
Where are you talking about? The area abutting the residential?
Yes.
That's
we're in
the
residential.
testimony was that's the traffic, the fire lanes, but there's no parking, there's no regular traffic,
So in the setback, so what's allowed to be built in the setback?
nothing.
So is the wall gonna be in the setback?
On the perimeter, yeah, there's fencing on the perimeter.
No, not fencing, they're gonna build a wall. Is that in the setback?
Where's the engineer?
Yes.
You want to go over this again briefly?
Retaining wall is in the setback, as is the fire lane. The retaining wall is not above ground. It is at ground level at its top. So it's not something you will be seeing. It is allowed in the ordinance, as is the fire lane, as is the access point. Nothing is being required. Nothing is being done that's outside of the requirement.
All right, continue, sir. You got about a minute left.
That wasn't my time, that was his time.
Yeah, that's why I stopped the clock.
Okay, well, my point is that this is impacting the residential properties here, the property value here. It's impacting the people that walk along Pass Road with the traffic. Same points that have been pointed out already. Trucks will be going, I assume, on this road, because I don't know how they make that turn. So they'll be going right through my backyard, basically, 20 feet away. I mean, that's pretty close. On the other side of this wall that's going to be built on top of the land, very small. There's lots of people that walk along the ice skating rink along this area, along Potts Road. That's a dangerous area for trucks to be going by. People cross over to the Great Western Trail. It's frequented all the time. This is personally, it's a bad plan. It's a bad location. I don't know why you aren't taking more into consideration here. And I'm also wondering if the people here who actually are going to be losing property value have any say as far as the outcome of this.
Well, yeah, that's the reason for your,
No, but
you mean you get the vote? No. You're supposed to give your public comment and we're required to take all of the testimony and evidence into consideration.
my biggest comment is if this was in your backyard, would you want a truck driving?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Next.
Hi, my name is Kasser Chishti. Last name is Chishty. I am the owner of 1064 Greenbrier Drive. It's in the same community in the neighborhood where Coventry Circle and Greenbrier homes are. And my family will strongly oppose this plan. Basically, it's not good for the environment and the safety of the kids, the children, the people living there. Secondly, if it's given approval, like we have been hearing every time we hear there's a change in the plan or the things like my neighbors were saying that initially they said one truck will come, then next time they will keep on adding. So maybe after a year or two, the next company comes and they will add more plans to it. Who knows, they are using it for one truck a day or maybe 5, who knows, 10, 15 trucks a day. So once the approval is given, then it goes to the next level. So we have to keep that in mind, all the safety, security of the people living in the area, the houses will depreciate. And also the new school which is coming up, there will be a lot of traffic and the children crossing the roads. And even as of now, there are a lot of trucks on North Avenue when they come this side. Few of those, they cause a lot of traffic congestion. So all of these new trucks coming in will cause additional pain and suffering to the people. And I do agree with Mr. Sharma and other people who have done a good job in putting all the technical things. So I do agree with them.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So if you agree with the last speaker or one of the prior speakers and your concerns are traffic, you don't have to sort of name the roads all over again. And, you can just indicate that you agree with the prior speaker. All right, go ahead, sir.
Christopher Murin, M-U-R-I-N, 1117 Coventry Circle, Glendale Heights. I object to the proposal as revised. I appreciate that you put lipstick on a pig. But it's lipstick on a pig. What we have here is really, it kind of boils down to conflict management. This subdivision has a history of two things. Number one, a lack of proper planning becomes somebody else's problem, namely ours. Case in point, the construction site immediately to the west that is always conveniently off all of these renderings. Number two, the dealership's built along North Avenue. The avenue is a busy corridor. We understand why there's commercial property there. But the owner of DuPage, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Eagle, Fiat, etc. Despite every promise in the world, oh, you won't hear our squawking, you won't hear our radios, you won't hear our PA. People that live along the northern part of the ring of Coventry Circle hear that all the time, despite all the promises given in village hearings. So if I say fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, I think that can sum up how the residents in that subdivision feel. I said at the top, this boils down to conflict management. I think there's at least 4. Number one, you have a conflict between your master plan and your zoning. And I think your recommendation needs to be to resolve that. I may be one of the few people in this room that is an urban planner by education, not by profession. This is a shoehorn.
This was not one of the tools I learned how to use in planning. And what we have here is something shoehorning the other side of a residential subdivision. I don't expect that that parcel's never gonna be developed. But we've got competing uses. That's another conflict. You've got adjacent jurisdictions whose interests are not aligned. And as far as I can tell, you're not even working together with Ellen, with the Heights, the county, the township, developer, property owner. None of you are all in the same room together trying to figure this out to make it work for everybody as best we can. Number three, you've got a conflict between what's been stated as the current use versus what is the potential use. Case in point, the size of this building is nearly double to store nothing. That tells me that they're thinking about the potential for what's next if they outgrow this facility and need to sell it. Number four, traffic use. I go through that intersection almost every day. That road may be at 55% utilization. But you get to either intersection, either lighted intersection in North Avenue or at St. Charles Geneva Road, also known as Five Corners. It can take you sometimes 2 lights to get through those intersections right now. You add slow moving trucks behind buses and more traffic, it becomes more of a nightmare. And on top of that, you have high pedestrian traffic with the Great Western Trail.
Could you wrap it up, sir?
I am very close to, thank
Good,
you.
thank you.
You've got conflicts of the types of use of traffic. And then you've got, I actually run a storage unit in that facility. I don't dare turn left off of Pasa on the northbound Glen Ellen Road, Main Street. It is blind. You take your life in your own hands. I don't want to be T-boned. I will make a right, go all
Okay.
the way around
That's good.
to my subdivision.
I think we understand.
So my expectation is that, number one, the jurisdictions, zoning board, plan commission, the county, at all levels, township, village, start working together. I'm a constituent. I expect it. I expect better. Number
Okay,
two,
thank you
your
very much.
recommendation needs to resolve these conflicts. So these kinds of considerations are more clear in the future.
All right, thanks. Just for so that you know, we've circulated this petition to all of the municipalities, the various departments of the county, as we always do. We have received comments from some, no comments or objections from others. So we do try to coordinate. Yeah, next speaker.
Hello, good evening. I'm Megan Clifford, 793 Forest Avenue, Glen Ellen. It's about a mile away from this site. Bear with me as I'm just catching up on this project. I was notified about it a few days ago, so I'm gathering as much information as I can. I do need to say this, it's a requirement with my job. I'm not representing Argonne National Laboratory, the U.S. Department of Energy, or University of Chicago. I am here representing myself and my family as residents of Glen Ellen, and also as the president of Protect Glen Ellen. Protect Glen Ellen is all about, it's a nonprofit that was established several years ago, and it's all about protecting the health and safety of residents. When I heard about this project, I immediately was concerned about the health and safety of residents. I understand we have the gentleman, I apologize, I forgot your name, that he went under oath on record to say there would not be any hazardous materials at this facility, and I would like that to be memorialized. Because
It will be, it will be.
for the first time, I heard this evening that Silvacom was the name of the company, and on their webpage, they say Silvacom is mainly a truckload carrier specialized with hazmat loads. Operating in all 48 contiguous states in the US, Silvacom is one of the biggest hazmat carriers in the US. They might be saying that today, but it needs to be forever.
Well, it's not permitted at all. And with respect to this condition or conditional use request, if it's passed, that will also be a condition, which is sort of belts and suspenders, because that's the law, plus we'd make it a condition.
So then my second concern is traffic safety. We are very familiar with COLA. We had a study analyzed by COLA for Five Corners when we had an issue with the gas station wanting to be built there. It is a very dangerous area. And I appreciate saying we can handle more capacity.
But it is, you've got two schools right now within less than a mile of this Montessori School of Glen Ellen and Forest Glen, and a potential third school. There are so many children afoot, walking, moving, buses. It is, and Five Corners is not a safe intersection to begin with. So now I'm thinking, wait, if you can't make a left, if the trucks can't make a left to get onto Main Street, they're gonna go right. They're gonna loop around, they're gonna go left, they're gonna go right. I'm not quite certain how this is gonna work. And it's very concerning. So as you can tell, I'm opposed to this, and I look forward to hearing more information. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead. Next speaker.
Can I put this up on the top here?
Sure.
Good evening. My name is David Hartzell. I live at 714 Meredith Place in Glen Ellen.
Can you spell your last name, please?
Hartzell is Hartsell. I live at 714 Meredith Place in Glen Ellen, lived there for 21 years. It's about a mile. I'm neighbors with Megan Clipper, who was up here just a moment ago. It's about a mile from where this is. So I'm not as directly impacted by the people that are living in the subdivision, which is 60 feet away. I mean, I honestly find it shocking that you would consider putting a facility like this next door to a subdivision like that. And those are nice homes there, but even the what was your word, decrepit home that's to the north, it's still a home. It's still somebody's home. And it's shocking. It is shocking to me that you would consider putting this in there. And what I'm hearing tonight and what I've seen here is so familiar to me. I was the lawyer that represented Megan and Protect Glen Ellen in the lawsuit that we ultimately filed against the village of Glen Ellen and True North to stop that horrific gas station from going in at Five Corners. And a lot of what I'm hearing today and a lot of what I'm seeing in these materials is exactly what we saw before. So everybody keeps making the same mistakes. I want to also point out here, contrary to how it was portrayed, that this isn't some industrial area. All right, these are all homes here across Main Street. You've got the storage facility here. This is all residential back here. This park area right here, that's where the new K-5 school is going in for District 41 that we're going to vote on in November. Right there, that far away on this map. This is all residential going down Main Street. Forest Glen and Five Corners is down here. All right, it's inconceivable to me that you would stick this in the middle of all of that. And I will talk about traffic. I know everybody else has talked about traffic, but I'm going to talk about it too. It's crazy to think.
You're going to talk about it for 43 more seconds, sir.
I'll take all 43 seconds.
Go right ahead.
It's crazy to think the idea of these 18-wheeler trucks up and down Main Street. Okay, we don't usually see those. Are they gonna just come in and go out to the north? Are they gonna be swinging around here and heading south towards Five Corners? That's an impossible situation. And I drove this today. It is deadly trying to turn left out of here. The idea that you're gonna take an 18-wheeler and turn left on the Main Street to go up to North Avenue, it's an accident waiting to happen. How many seconds do I have, sir? 4 seconds. Thank you very much.
Well, just for the record, I've definitely been one-upped.
My name is Leila Denning, Leiladeng. I live at 1 North 7.1 Forest. It's right down the street where Spalding School will be rebuilt. It was torn down 30 years ago. It's being rebuilt again. I'm just about traffic and safety like everyone else. I'm sorry to be redundant, but that First Street and Main, tremendously dangerous. There was just a fatal accident there months ago with a bicycle and a car. So and that's a bicycle and a car, not some huge truck that will never make that turn unless there's some big reconstruction. And I don't think that's happening. I don't know where it would happen. But anyway, my concern is that corner is ridiculously tight. I'm at that First and Main Street intersection all the time. At one time, it was so dangerous. It was a big hill. They went ahead, they reconstructed it to make a smaller hill. It's still as dangerous as it was. There's no visibility there. So I don't see where this truck could possibly turn really either way. So that's my concern. It's just for safety, it's for the children, and it's for our community. And lastly, with all due respect, sir, you made a comment about these are not high-end homes around there. Let me tell you, no, we are not high-end homes, but we pay big taxes in DuPage County, big. And I want that comment highly, because like I say, we pay big taxes and they do nothing but get bigger all the time.
Right, thank you. I want to just say, I mean, maybe I should have indicated this a little earlier. Maybe we do need, given the complexity of the project, all the remarks about traffic, the red light, the new school. Maybe we do need a written traffic report. I'm not running for anything, so. Yeah, maybe. All right, go right ahead.
All right, hi, my name is Tariq Mahmood. I'm the resident of 1020 Victoria Lane.
Can you spell your first name and last name?
Tariq, T as in Tom, ARIQ as in Queen, Mahmood, M as in Mary, EHMOOD as in David. All right, so like other neighbors in my neighborhood, I'm strongly opposing this new project due to number of conditions. I think I can go over quickly, try to go over quickly with the points. I think they talked about the truck. We don't know about this hazmat. We heard about this company contains the hazmat materials. We also heard about they probably would not be carrying those hazmat materials over there. Those trucks they are saying would be empty, but who knows what those truck contains at that moment when they try to enter or exit the facility. What level of hazmat materials they already have it in their trucks. We don't know. And at the other thing is, once we let's assume we have given this permission to this facility. Who would on the day-to-day basis would be going and checking what's coming in inside those trucks or coming out, going out inside those trucks? It's like a continuous day-to-day headache for us. And keep that in mind, that whole neighborhood contains a lot of children, a lot of, like a lot of people walking around, jogging around. Everybody using that Post Street. They talked about they were using the Post Street. Everybody using the Post Street going out the trail. Kids are, you can go and see kids are using the bicycles over there all the time. That whole area, Post Street, that eyes of DuPage Arena to the trail, everybody using it all the day. And keep having that big facility with the trucks on the side. I mean, it's like big no. Obviously, as a father of young kids, I mean, it's like a horrible dream for me. Having my kid going down to that street going forward. If we accept this facility. Other thing they talked about drivers training on site. So what does exactly that mean? We don't know what kind of training they would be performing on the site. I mean, they talked about on site there would be no noise, nothing, but now they talk about drivers training on site. So obviously they would not be sitting inside and using the some kind of controller, gate controller doing the training. They would be on the road, right? They would be on the parking facility or wherever, or going coming back and forth doing the training. So obviously that's another concerning for us. And I think they also talked about drivers will be staying on site. So that's I don't know why they need to be staying on site for training or whatever, 3-4 days, 5 days. I heard about it. So that's another thing. They also mentioned about 0 to 8 number of trucks coming back and forth. But they talked about they are having a parking of 16 trucks on the site. Basically, that shows their intent for what they are trying to do or achieve in the future. Right now, they are starting at 16, going down the road 2 years, 5 years. We don't know what they're going to improve, even increase the trucking facility over here. Obviously, we already have a trucking facility on the west side of the neighborhood. If you go down to the neighborhood, you already hear those noises. That's already there. Bus facility is already there. Bus depot is already there. There's already a lot of big noises. I mean, environmental issues already there for the neighborhood. So having another facility, I mean, doesn't make any sense, especially in between of the residential area.
Okay,
I think other things already people talked about, so I'm not gonna go over it, but definitely as a resident of that neighborhood, I strongly oppose this new project.
good. Thank you very much. Sir, can I just ask, did I understand correctly that you're concerned about hazardous material for a company that may or may not transport hazardous material in some of these same trucks is the residual effect of a truck that once had hazardous material? Okay, fine. We'll ask the petitioner to address that. Go right ahead.
My name is Bobby Bergstone, it's B-O-B-B-I, Bergstone, B-U-R-G-S-T-O-N-E. I'm at 1N210 Main Street in Glen Ellen. I have the same concern as the gentleman ahead of me about any residual hazmat materials. But I want to point out, I'm here. This section, the speed limit is 40 miles an hour. The common, I should say, the norm there is 50 plus. People speed like crazy on this area from St. Charles Road north. 70 plus is normal. So people are speeding along here and they're gonna catch up with trucks here. This is, so there's greater danger here. It's a different kind of a transportation issue that concerns me. Speeding here into this dangerous turn left position is a concern of mine. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. So I didn't know, were you standing in line to speak?
Yeah.
You were not originally, then you were not sworn in? And but you wish to speak? Any other latecomers? One more? Okay, I'm gonna take two more people. No, I know he already spoke. He's not asking to speak. You know, if this is repetitious, I'd like you to just indicate that you agree with the prior speaker concerning traffic or whatever, okay? So go right ahead.
You want me to swear her in?
Oh, yes, this is it though, folks, so I've got. Sir, didn't you already speak?
I have different.
No, you only get one bite at the apple. And
I'm sworn in.
did you already speak?
No, he was sworn in.
Okay, then jump up in line if you would. Go right ahead, raise your hands or be sworn in.
That's one.
You do solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give this cause now and hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
This lady was next. Okay, it's on.
My name is Shagufta Khader, that's S-H-A-G-U-F-T-A, last name Khader, K-H-A-D-E-R, and I live on 1020 Greenbrier. My backyard already faces the other truck stop, and I just wanted to say that even though they don't do any loading or unloading anything back there, it is extremely noisy, it's ugly, it's an eyesore. And you know, from a safety perspective, I do worry about letting my children play in the backyard, and that would be a concern for me if I lived on Victoria Lane as well. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Buddy spoke.
Mike Carolyn, C-A-R-O-L-A-N, 1500 block of Goodrich, 4 blocks due west of the facility. And I just like to ask the gentleman specifically, what are the cargoes that your company handles?
Well,
May I?
They wrap up all these questions at the end, so they'll address that.
Okay.
I'll be sure that they do.
I'd also like a description of the trucks, tank trucks, straight jobs, hot jobs. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Yasin Suleiman.
I'm sorry, into the microphone, please.
Hi, my name is Yasin Suleiman. That's Y-A-S-E-E-N. Last name Suleiman, S-U-L-E-M-A-N. I live at 404 Greenbrier Drive, just around the corner on Greenbrier at the end of Greenbrier. There's quite a few things that we need to be concerned about in this area. Number one, a lot of people mentioned biking. I myself bike over there. Okay, and that's correct. A lot of people drive really fast in that area. Okay, especially with the new school coming over there, I expect the children will be walking that area in the summer. And this would be very hazardous for those children walking that area, trying to go to the Spalding school that will be located down the street. Okay, the other item here is, there was mention of vehicles, large amount of parking spaces. So then what are we doing with that parking space? I can't imagine such a large building with such a large parking space is going to be, underutilized. It may start off being underutilized, but over time, we expect that that will grow and that will impact the community. And then nobody will be there to see that issue happen. So, and then, they talk about docks, but they're talking about not loading and unloading. That's surprising, confusing. Why would you have docks in a building if you're not going to be loading or unloading? So this entire plan is just all over the place. Like they're changing their mind here and there, going back and forth. It's confusing and it's very, very, I would say, interesting in the negative way. I don't really believe 50% traffic on that road, 55% traffic on that road. Not possible. I drive there myself. I drop my kids off to school. There is multiple schools located in that direction. Glen Ellen has District 87, Glenbard West goes in that direction. We've got a few more schools and the new one that's been going to be built over there. So I can't imagine that is not going to cause issues. I don't believe the 50% number at all. The other thing that was pointed out to me just a little bit earlier was regarding the back street here. Let's see if I can make this out here. There's quite a bit of bus parking in the back, and that all is Paul Street uses all the buses. Like there's about 200 buses parked on the other side of the subdivision, and all of those buses use Paul's Road to get in and out. Okay, so that means early in the morning and in the evening, that traffic is going to be there. And yes, that will be also very dangerous for children. And children are going to be scared of, walking there. And now you have to worry about a huge truck in that area. Okay, and I would like to actually read off a comment that I heard last time and I was confused. I first of all, I'd like to
move it along though, sir, if you would.
I would like to thank you guys for letting me speak here. Towards the end of last meeting, it was said that the property is already zoned in a specific way. We're not disputing the zoning of the property, rather that it is what is said to be built in that area. Okay, the area has evolved over time and continues to evolve for residential. Okay, it is not what it was 50 years ago. Maybe that's when it was zoned 40 years ago or even 10 years ago. It's evolved quite a bit. There is a bustling community, new school, community services in the proposed area. Therefore, we cannot use old zoning under old zoning and then not wanting to override that just because it was zoned in a certain way. Okay, just like everything else, this also needs to evolve and we need to consider rezoning this area. Okay, so it is the job of this committee to look at the area as it is today, to listen to the citizens and to understand the citizens that live in that area and look at the environmental costs as well as personal costs and make the right decision for the community. It is the job of this committee to do the right thing and to not allow for the project to move forward. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now the last speaker.
Can I show something on the map here?
Can you what?
Can I show where I live on the map?
Sorry.
Here?
Sorry, I didn't quite.
Okay, my name is Akila Ajmeri, Akila, last name Ajmery, and I live at 1029 Victoria. And that is right here, right in the middle of the building. And along with everything that everybody said, I agree with everything, but I have a personal problem with this project. My daughter is 16 years old and she's gonna have a kidney transplant in the next few months, by the end of this year. Her bedroom is right there. She needs rest. She doesn't need to hear the trucks. Which is not gonna be very healthy for her if this building is gonna be right where her bedroom is. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. So a couple of things that come out of the testimony, maybe we also need a landscape plan or at least a rough landscape plan. Which, I mean, this is a significant project, so, you know, you could go to the expense of doing a landscape plan. I've already asked for the traffic study. We need to, I do want you to address this technical sort of scientific question of whether or not hazmat materials once contained within a truck create residual impact. And then finally, when we grant a conditional use, we very often put time limits on conditional use. But that time limit is a sort of a 2 or 3 part test. One of those parts is the conditional use is granted to a specific company. And the company cannot, you know, sort of farm out its operation to a different company, sell for a similar use or any other use other than a permitted use. So we're gonna have to have a clear, I'm not saying that's not clear in the record, but it's been raised by a couple of the neighbors that there's some confusion about what company is involved. So all of that needs to be clarified before the matter proceeds.
Yeah, I can easily clear up the last question, which it will be the purchaser is Silvacom. There are 2 prior owners. Yes, we are purchasing, consolidating them. That's where you get the 2 different names. And honestly, I represent the authorization to represent both landowners as well as Silvacom. So that's written authorization was provided to the county. As you asked, we will submit a traffic study. We will provide a landscape plan. Let me just, if I can, answer a couple other questions that came in. Or there were maybe misconceptions. No one's living on this site. No one's staying overnight, sleeping here. I think that was some misperception of some people. They're coming in, they're being trained inside in a classroom. This is not driving school. These people have CDL licenses already. They're being trained in what we do, and what Silvacom does. As far as hazardous materials, this isn't hazardous materials laying on inside of a truck, open and out. It is inside containers that are regulated and lawfully required to already be secure and safe. You can't transport hazardous materials loose in a truck. So there will not be any residue here that we're talking about. The feds are very, very careful about how you submit this stuff. There will not be oil tankers. This is not that kind of facility. They're not oil trucks. They're not, no liquid waste. It's not that kind of truck.
Is it a cab and trailer, typical over the road?
Yes.
And no flatbeds?
No flatbeds.
No flatbed.
No, this is just cab and trailer enclosed system. I think I heard 3 bus stops, just so the record's clear. I just asked our traffic engineer, those 3 bus stops are on Main Street. They're not, I kind of heard people say it, and I thought they were on Pass. I'm like, there are bus stops on Pass? No, these bus stops are on Main Street.
No, not the bus stop, but not.
Okay, whoever's talking, finito.
And I want to make it very clear, I don't think I said that it was not a nice neighborhood to the west. I think I was talking about that older home to the north.
Thank you.
I never said that, and I never intended it. If there was a mistake, I apologize. I think those are kind of the follow-ups I had to what I heard. Unless anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer the questions from the board.
Does the comments from the audience spark any?
He asked it at this testimony.
What is it?
The guy in the red shirt. Did you have a question that you asked? I'd like to know specifically,
What kind of trucks there?
number one, what kind of trucks they are.
Got
I've
that,
been
right?
granted that, tractor trailers. I asked about if they're tankers. Straight jobs also, box trucks, and specifically what the cargoes are that this company handles.
Okay, well, I
I
think.
understand they're following all
All
containers.
right, I'm not taking any more public comment, folks. I'm not gonna take any more public comments. No seconds. I can't, then it becomes a dialogue.
They're they are changing
Sir?
in goalposts.
Sir,
In the end, they will do
Please.
something else.
you know, I have to, I'm sorry to cut you off, but you know, I just have to go by the procedures. All right, Mr. Lukens.
I'll let Mr. Volpe talk about specifics, but these, they do have hazardous materials. We've not said anything other than that, but it is not all they carry. They carry everything. They can carry foods, they could carry other non-hazardous products anywhere that may be. So yeah, they carry a bunch of different things like any over-the-road trucker. If there's any other questions about the board, we're happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you.
Do the comments from the audience trigger any questions from members of the board?
With the traffic study, are you gonna do a traffic flow plan of the site?
Interior circulation?
Well, yes, we will show you the flow.
Good.
We need that.
Yeah. We want to see the traffic that it.
Yeah, and let's be very clear, there will be demarcation that this is not, the fire lane is not to be used for anything other than emergency vehicles. That's not, and we will some way, shape or form, according to whatever we need to do with the county regulations, make sure that that's very clear. This is not intended. In fact, when I look at that, I think it's the northwest corner. I don't think a cab with trailer could make that turn.
But it's not gonna make it getting in.
Well, there's more space. Well, getting it off pass, yes, that's why Mr. Worthman talked about, we will be increasing that intersection. From pass to the site.
So that point means A, new site plan, B, show that circulation exit entrance on in the traffic study.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, they can talk
And
about.
then Mr. Haw, I have to call on Mr. Haas, who has a comment that has been submitted in writing by a member of the public. Before he speaks, I'll indicate that the record in this case will remain open for any other written comments to be presented in this case, which will then be a part of our record as this will be. Those written bits of information will only be addressed to the staff, presented to the board, and be a part of the record. So the last thing for the evening is the remark from that you have by email, I think, Mr. Ross.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, we're talking about traffic. They said they're gonna make changes to pass. Okay, well, now we could just ask that be included, what their plans are for that.
Yeah, in the traffic study.
As part of a traffic study, or even just the plan of how they're gonna deal with the conflicts at pass.
Yeah, can I just ask that you confer with them? I'm not gonna instruct, I'm not gonna tell them in any greater detail about their traffic study. It's gonna live and die on its face when it's submitted. If you want to encourage them to add something, please do so.
I thank you very much.
And then Mr. Haas, let's wrap up with this comment.
Public comment submitted to the county board office from Sam Shasaver, 22W111 Glen Rice Court, Glen Ellen. Hello, I'm a resident of the unincorporated area north of Glen Ellen. I wanted to provide public comment regarding the October 4 zoning board of appeals meeting for zoning 22-000-034 Silvacom. I am generally against the placement of building at its current proposed location. In particular, I am worried about severe noise pollution to the surrounding residential area and majorly worried about traffic on the confluence of Main Street, Paw Street, Railroad Street, and First Street. I hope this is all taken into consideration. Thank you, Sam. End comment.
Good. Thank you very much. Let's talk about timing. We have the timing of the additional materials presented by the petitioner. I don't want that to occur at the same time that we have our voting session on this case. because it has to be made a part of the record for people to have access to it in advance and then submit the kind of comments that I suggested earlier. So we have a November 2nd recommendation meeting. Oh, November, it's Wednesday, November 2. November 3 is Thursday. No, it's not. We changed it to November 2. Okay, so we're gonna meet about this case on November 2nd. Assuming the record is complete, we will confer and vote on this case that evening. That's not something that is for public comment. That's a deliberation about this case and others by the board and then vote in public. Can we get, what's October 14th, I think is a Friday, is that right? So Friday. Can you get the additional materials in by October 14th?
Realistically, I think that's the time the auto turns. I mean, the traffic study itself, that's hard. December. We do the 21st.
That doesn't give a lot of time for the, we could do I will give you a special recommendation meeting. No, it's not gonna make any difference given the development committee schedule. So we'll put you in give you the 21st and then we'll set the matter for a recommendation in December.
Yes, we'd like to avoid that if possible. Let me talk to let me talk to the experts and see what if they can.
The timing for their materials. And still meet the development committee schedule. Oh, all right. Give you the 21st, we'll have a special recommendation hearing. I was just advised about the recommendation, the development committee's schedule. So we'll have our hold on, let me look at my calendar. November 10th. Okay, our recommendation meeting will occur on November 10 at 5:30 in this room, November 10. That's when we'll vote, as I just described earlier. That vote constitutes a recommendation to the County Development Committee. Development Committee will hold its hearing and make its recommendation to the full county. Yeah, that's public. It's open to the public. With respect to the detail, I don't know much about those details, but you could talk to our staff afterwards. Oh, wait, we may be withdrawing that. I don't know what the schedule is. It's resolved, November 10. So then your October 21 is your timing for additional materials. And we will take a public comment after October 21, because for those of you that want to access the record and comment, you're gonna have to have access. You're gonna have to have it, in the record by November 21. And we'll take your comments. You know what? We'll take your comments up to a day or two before November 10. In writing. Okay, that's it. Does any board member have anything to clarify? All right, Mr. Wilkins, nothing further. Good, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.